Changes are coming to Overwatch 2's Battle Pass and monetization. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. What we're going to do in this video is break down an interview Aaron Keller actually conducted with IGN, in which they answer some, or they put forward some pretty decent questions, and Aaron gets a chance to answer them. And we're going to break this down. But firstly, I want to show you guys this. Look at this. This is on Twitter. Now, we're going to look at this response, but before we do that, this is the original tweet. It says, this was a really interesting conversation that got to the heart of why we're talking to our players more and why we revealed a lot more of what the team is working on at BlizzCon. I also couldn't pronounce Jared's last name in it, so there's that. And this is from the Aaron Keller account. So, yeah, this user on Twitter or X says, so Vixo basically says, speaking of transparency, will there be changes to the monetization of the game? And Aaron says this, we're in the middle of a redesign of the Battle Pass, which will affect many areas of monetization. We should have more details early next year. So with that being said, let's jump over to this and check out, not my awesome video from the other day, but we're going to check out this interview because I actually think this, well, let's just run it. This is actually a really interesting interview. Let's do this.
What's up, everyone? This is Matt Kim at IGN, and we're here at BlizzCon 2023, and we're sitting down with Overwatch 2 Game Director Aaron Keller. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
How's your show so far?
It's amazing. We haven't run BlizzCon since 2019, so just seeing all the fans and the energy here is really exciting.
That's been really cool. So just jumping right into it, Overwatch 2's big announcement during the opening show was not only Manga, the new hero, but also the next two heroes, Venture and Codename Space Ranger.
Yeah, we really wanted to show players as much as we could of what's coming next year. So Mauga is amazing, larger than life personality, but yet we showed Venture. We showed early gameplay footage of Venture in our What's Next panel, along with more concept art from Space Ranger. We also showed new game mode that we're releasing next year and a new map for it. Teased even another map that we had, showed a reworked competitive system we're working on, other game modes. It even talked a little bit about what's coming for Battle Pass changes.
Now that's, I mean, I have to say, I was kind of stunned because that's a lot. Like normally the new hero is sort of the big announcement, but we got a lot of new information about this. Is this new for Overwatch 2 as a team?
It is new for Overwatch as a team.
So I want to pause it there because I actually think that is, I think that's a moment there I think this is the releasing of the Activision Blizzard King reigns on the Overwatch team, or at least the developers in Blizzard, because if you think about it, there's no way they would have showed off any early footage of any heroes last year, right? You know, they would have, if BlizzCon happened last year, it would be, here's Mauga, and that's it. There wouldn't be a look at Venture, there wouldn't be any mention of Space Ranger, there'd be none of that, right? Because historically, they've seen that as a marketing beat, something they can build hype around, and you know that's the way that they've gone ahead. But it seems that now, because this is the Microsoft world, the Xbox world that Blizzard are part of, and Blizzard are a teeny tiny part of that, they've been given a lot more free reign. It's almost like go and run your studio type of attitude. And so they've decided to go, you know what, we're going to change things up. We're going to show you guys more than we usually do. Now, the cynic in me says they didn't have a lot to show at BlizzCon. They had, you know, panels they needed to fill. All they've got would have been Mauga, and they could talk about the competitive changes, and yeah, they could have showed off the hero gauntlet mode. Maybe they could have showed off, well, they showed off the new Hanamura map, Hanaoka. They could have showed off the Peru map potentially, but then it's like, what else can we do? We need to bulk this out. Let's just show some early hero footage. That's a cynical response to it. The other way of looking at this is Aaron and the team going, no, we want to give more to the player base. We want to show them more because we don't have Activision Blizzard above us forcing us to do things like maybe put heroes in the Battle Pass and do stuff like that. So, hey, we're going to change now, and this is going to be our first statement as a new team, as a free team. We're going to show you guys more of what we've been working on. We're going to be more open. You can look at it both ways, right? I think I'm leaning more to the let's be more open instead of it's just cynical, we need to find something to do. Yeah, let's carry on.
We want to be as transparent with our players as possible. We really want to show them all of this. And the reason why we want to do that is we want to rebuild trust, honestly, with our players, for one.
No shit.
And we'd also like to just give people that are really into our game, that played a lot, a chance to see what's coming and what they can look forward to people, they use games and they play games because they love those worlds, and they have this attachment to them. And we want to like validate that passion by like showing them the things that are going to be coming. They can like look at that and say like, oh, this game is in good hands. I want to be able to continue like putting time and my energy into it also.
Now, I don't think I'm out of pocket to say that in the games industry, typically announcements focus on a single big thing, right? And roadmaps are a little bit new, I think, but they've been a little bit more common in live service games like one that you're working on yourself. Is this something that you've noticed just works better with a live service game like Overwatch 2?
Yeah, I think that there's a few different aspects to this. So it's great to have big marketing beats and these moments where players kind of see new things come into the game. But I think every game out there it's a little bit different from each other. Even every game and every team in Blizzard is a little bit different from each other. We've had moments in the past with Overwatch where we didn't talk to players as much as we do right now, and we really kind of like pulled away. Even as early as last year, there's an example. Before we shipped Overwatch 2, we made an announcement that we were putting heroes in our battle pass, and there was a big reaction from our community around that. And at the time, we thought it was best to just be radio silent there, because anything we said, the players would just kind of twist it into something.
No. Anyone with half a brain cell, the reaction to locking heroes in a hero shooter that it's got, you can change your hero in the match, right? The initial reaction of anyone was like, this is terrible, because what happens if the new hero is meta? You don't have the new hero because you haven't paid for the battle pass. And like, I know we've always gone on about this, but that Walter Kong quote from way back at the launch of the game, where it was like, the most engagement thing in our game is heroes, so we decided to monetize them. It's like, oh, I'm hoping that's just an Activision Blizzard thing, yeah? I really am. And I'm hoping that's gone, because this isn't Activision Blizzard no more. It's just Blizzard. Obviously, they're owned by Microsoft, but it's Blizzard, right? At least that's what we're hoping anyway. So I don't think anyone has twisted anything out of context. I mean, announcing heroes in the Battle Pass is going to cause negativity. Then going radio silent, I can sort of understand that, because what the hell can they say? Think about it. What could they actually say? Yeah, we're doing it for more money. Yeah, we think this is the way to make the most money off you guys. Anything they say just sounds bad, right? So let's just say nothing. And so if we say anything else, maybe they twist that out of context, or they just start spiraling, inventing storylines or whatever. I don't think so. I think it is a terrible thing that it's in the game, and I really hope that in January, Aaron gets to go, heroes are not in the battle pass anymore. That's redemption. Anyway, let's carry on.
And we've kind of come 180 from that. Like, what we want to do is to be in constant communication with our players and to let them know what is coming, even if it's something that might be taken negatively. We would like to get out in front of it and just be honest with those players. We have a new executive producer on the project. His name's Jared Noyce, and it's a really, really important value to him for us to be transparent with our players. And over the course of this last year, we've put out more information on our game than we ever have. We have a bi-weekly director's take blog piece where I speak to the community about my thoughts on the game, and we put out different blog pieces as well. And then we have moments like this at BlizzCon where we want to show people like really what we're doing. And so what we're hoping is that our players see that, like, yeah, we do want to have this conversation back and forth with the community, and we are committed to putting the game out and like what we are working on with the game out in front of them.
Yeah, I think.
And what has the sort
of
effect of this new transparency policy been on the team? Yeah.
I think we really like it. It's hard for a team to hold on to something. And it's hard to feel like that you're being inauthentic with players. The Overwatch team is a team that's very passionate about the game. It's made up of people that play our game, and so they're also involved with the community. They feel very connected with the community, and anytime there is that moment where there's a little bit of a break and it feels like we're out of sync with them, or that there's something that the community is upset about, it has a really big effect on our morale. And so for us as a team to be able to actually put ourselves out in front of players like that has been really, really great.
I imagine.
So I think that actually is an important aspect there. You know, at the end of the day, these are people that are making a game, you know, and if you're forever trashing on their work, they're never going to feel great. I mean, you think of things like the Steam review situation, for example. But like, again, I think this might be a case of almost like, it's not an admission, but it's like a case of we don't have this management layer above us anymore that we need to report to, that we need to constantly ask for permission to do stuff. Because I know it's a difficult thing to make changes to Overwatch. I know it's difficult to, like, you know, if you see something happening, okay, we need to react to this right now. Can we do it? Maybe in the past it was always a case of X is happening, so you say to the management, we need to do Y, and they go, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks. And then we go, no, you can't do that. But by then it's got out of control. And I think that has happened in a lot of different times for this game. But I think a lot of the issues have been, or at least I hope, were forced on them by Activision Blizzard King. Because a lot of the angst from the player base does generally come from the way things have gone with stuff like monetization, with stuff like the battle pass, you know, with just like those kinds of decisions. And if the team now is able to, like, you know, more publicly, I guess, not publicly address those things, but like can be more responsive, they're more in control of their own narrative, I think that helps them quite a lot. So I actually think that's quite a good thing, and this might be a turning point.
Given, you know, you said yourself that this is a 180 from how it was previously.
Like I said, it is a
I
180.
imagine that's a little scary, but also very liberating.
Yeah, and it can be scary at times. We don't know always what players are going to think of what we want to show them, and we have had some.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they absolutely do. They do. They absolutely do. You know, they know every point they make an announcement, they know what's going to happen. If you announce PvE is cancelled, you know what's going to happen. If you announce heroes in the battle pass, you know what's going to happen. If you announce a new hero, you generally know what's going to happen, yeah? If you announce or you show off animated shorts, you generally know what's going to happen. If you do a La Seraphim crossover in-game event thing, you know what's going to happen. So they know what's going to happen, right? They really, really do know what's going to happen. But like, let's just let him carry on, because I'm just going to go on a mad rant
where we've talked about things with the community about what the game is turning into that they might disagree with, right? We launched last October with Overwatch 2. It had a new competitive system in it, for example. And as seasons went by, the community became more and more critical of that competitive system. And it always
which is true.
Can hurt, you know, like it. Maybe hurt is the wrong word, but to hear the
I mean, I've straight up called this competitive system a crime to game design. It is bad. It is bad. But at least they're changing it, right? And they've showed us what they're going to do with a newer system. So they are making changes.
Critical feedback isn't something that you always want, but it's so important for us. And so we have been communicating with them back and forth. And it was just today where we unveiled a whole new rework of that system based off of a lot of their feedback. And so, yeah, it can be scary, but then I think it's great for the game, and it does feel liberating to not have to be feeling like you can't be talking about these things. It is the more that a game team can be in line with their community, and that we're both kind of like moving towards the same goals, and that they can see that from the game team, the better it is.
Let's just replay that.
I think it's great for the game, and it does feel liberating to not have to be feeling like you can't be talking about these things.
Did you hear that? You can't be talking about these things. And I'm 100% certain this was going on a lot. This is the Activision Blizzard oversight. This is, okay, we really would like to talk about X, but we can't because they won't let us. So we have to say nothing. Meanwhile, the narrative online is just getting out of control, and we just look worse. Like, it's almost like the biggest I mean, Bobby Kotick probably especially loved this, because when you start putting developers out there as the focal point for disseminating information about your game into the community, that focal point, that figurehead, becomes the focus of negative reaction from the community when that inevitably pops up. Now, developers are not generally people who are maybe trained to deal with that. Let's keep this restricted to game directors. Aaron 100% knew what he was stepping into when he took the game director role on for Overwatch. He would become the figurehead because Jeff was the figurehead of the game. Now, Jeff wasn't in charge of the game entirely. He was just a game director. But publicly, he's out there. Now, the reason why people like Bobby love this, because they become the enemy. Not Bobby, not the management that are actually making the decisions. It's these poor developers who are the public-facing element. They take the hit. So I do think what he's just said there is, I think we're going to see more of what the developers actually want to say when they want to say it, which is going to be a huge difference to how we've dealt with this in the past.
It is the more that a game team can be in line with their community,
exactly,
and that we're both kind of like moving towards the same goals, and that they can see that from the game team, the better it is.
Overwatch as a brand is, I believe, 7 years on.
Yeah, we launched in 2016,
right?
In May of 2016. So we're 7.5 years on.
That is a long time, and that is a community then that has grown up with the game effectively. And so, what other than this transparency, and you mentioned that you're sharing more than you ever have. Have you noticed immediately? It's only been a day that this has been received positively by the community.
There's been a lot of excitement over the things that we've announced at BlizzCon, and there's been a lot of people that have also been surprised at how much we've shown.
Yeah.
But if you look back over the course of the past year, I think you can start to see a story emerge of us being more transparent with our community, and us trying to be more upfront with the things that we're doing, and for us to communicate more. Sometimes it almost feels like we over-communicate with our community. And I know,
yeah, this was the point I was going to make. They do sometimes over-communicate. I think you can see they start off with good intentions. There was a recent dev blog from Aaron where he addressed the whole thing about the pricing in the store for the Lilith skin, and he didn't really need to do that. It was obvious that's why it was so expensive, but maybe it was him needing to address that, and sort of irregardless of the PR impact, which might be a good sign actually, that again they're giving more sort of agency over what they say.
I know that we don't always put this much out in front of them, but there was a goal here, and the goal is to let people know that we are building the things that they want for this game. One of the things we said in the opening ceremonies is that Overwatch has never had such clarity of vision about the future. And the future of this game is to continue to build what people love in it. Overwatch is, I think, one of the world's best competitive shooters.
Let's stop Aaron there, because this was the opening statement, wasn't it, of the What's Next panel. It's Overwatch is a PvP game, and that's what we're building. It is an admission of pushing PvE on the back burner, but the thing is, guys, PvE was crap. It didn't work. So you need to build PvP. But it is good to see that, and like Aaron says, that is clarity of direction, of vision. It is, we are a PvP game, let's go. Aaron has addressed this in the past, the way the game was meant to be. Overwatch was sort of the crawl phase, and then we get into the walk phase, and then ultimately the game becomes an MMO. There was these crazy long-term plans for Overwatch, when in reality, they didn't realize what they had right in front of them was this absolutely world-beating PvP game. The irony is, it's taken them all these years to realize that, and now they're trying to work on it. And as ever, the question is always going to be, is it too late? Have they lost the limelight? They're still going to have a serviceable audience so long as they keep adding content. But will they ever reach the heights they managed to hit before? I don't know. But maybe if devs are given more freedom, ultimately we do get to that point. But the thing is, there is clarity there. Overwatch is a PvP game, and that's what we're making.
And the way that our heroes move in the environment, the way that they rely on each other, and their abilities synergize with each other, and it produces this game where every hero feels powerful, but you have to rely on the rest of your team to be successful in a match, that's the heart and soul of what makes this game tick. And so we want people that play that game, that feel that and feel kind of like that magic, to be able to look at what we're doing and say like, yeah, that's what I want the Overwatch team to be doing. I want more heroes like that. I want the game that I play now to just keep getting better, and that is what we're focused on.
Yeah.
Humanity forward messaging for humanity style game.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that is Overwatch, we've always put this message out there that we're a future worth fighting for. We want to be a game that represents people all around the world, you know? And sometimes it feels like Overwatch, the vision for what Overwatch is, especially since I took over as game director, is trying to define what Overwatch isn't, almost more than what it is. And so when we launched Overwatch 2 last October, that was different than the game that we talked about at BlizzCon in 2019.
It was, but you knew it was and we didn't. We still thought PvE was coming. Convenient, wasn't it, to sell the watch point pack?
You know, that was just a PvP focused part of the game. It was no longer this big, all-encompassing thing that we talked about. And we even later shifted again and narrowed the scope of that game, and we kept pulling parts of it away. And we came back to something that is similar to the original, but with a clarity of what the game actually is. We do want to represent all these people, but at the end of the day, our game is very competitive. It's very fast-paced, and a lot of people would consider it like intense and hardcore, and we love that about it. And we want to be able to deliver that for players, and so we are focusing on that competitive side of the game to give people more of it. Yes, the whole universe to Overwatch is this very approachable thing, but the game that we're building is a little bit different from that. And I think we've recognized that now, and we are pushing in that direction as hard as we can.
Very cool. Well, you know, I want to congratulate you on such a success.
Actually, that could be, like, so obviously we spoke about Walter Kong on this channel quite a few times, but he's the general manager of Overwatch franchise, not Overwatch 2, of the whole franchise. That might actually be Aaron there saying, look, what we've got here with Overwatch 2, it's the hardcore PvE shooter, but the world we've got is the Overwatch world. So we can actually have other games that exist in this world that service other elements of it. Maybe there is a world we live in where there is a PvE game, but it's like a standalone Overwatch game. Maybe something like that happens. Or we start getting other experiences, maybe like a tactical style game. You know, you guys know I've spoken before about like an XCOM style game would be really cool. Like a sort of turn-based tactics game with Overwatch agents could be really cool. So I don't know, but that is a really interesting point.
Successful show, and you know, and in this spirit of transparency, and then, you know, to dig a little bit more about this clarity of vision, do you have anything you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'd love to. I could talk about this stuff all day, but when you look back, or when I look back at the history of Overwatch and some of the announcements we've made in order to be more transparent, the most recent one we did was when we talked to our players about no longer working on hero mode. And when you look at our announcement at our last BlizzCon in 2019 of what Overwatch 2 was supposed to be, that was a big component of it. And so we went out in front of players and told them, like, hey, we want to deliver this to you. And then there was a moment just earlier this year where we talked about no longer delivering that. And a lot of players, I think probably justifiably, felt like that was a broken promise. And we knew when we did that people obviously weren't going to be happy about that. We didn't necessarily have to put it in front of players like that. And we knew there was going to be hopefully just a short-term hit because of it, a short-term hit for like player positivity and morale. But we chose to do that anyways, because we want to be honest with our players. We want to get in front of them that way. And if we could rewind the clock and have the choice to do that again, even knowing the consequences of it. I had the singular distinction for a while of being the game director of the worst reviewed game on Steam for a while.
Come on, Aaron. Yeah, but you know that's not reflective of the game. The thing is, like, this is a timing problem. That's the issue. They knew they were getting rid of PvE. He even said that earlier on in the year, probably to protect against going, well, we knew last year when the game launched. But, like, it's an issue because it dragged on. I understand it's a problem that needed to be resolved. You do have to use an Americanism, rip the Band-Aid off. It had to be ripped off at some point, and it was never going to feel great. But I'm not going to do this, guys, but if we went back and watched that podcast they did where they announced it, it was terrible. Like, it was not well executed. There were tons of issues with it, and it goes deeper. It isn't just as simple as going, we knew we had to tell people, and there was going to be a negative reaction. Oh dear, whoopsie me. You could see this building up, right? And sometimes I get a little bit worried were they really very good at managing their community? Are they a bit delusional? Was it Activision Blizzard King? Who knows? The thing is now, we're in the world without Bobby Kotick. We're in the world of Blizzard presumably on its own, dealing with itself inside Microsoft. And remember, it's a much smaller component. So now we get to see what happens. Now we get to see what decisions are made going forward. I know I've banged on about removing heroes from the Battle Pass and, add premium currency to the Battle Pass. If they do those things, now I'm not expecting them to, right? Because it seems like a little bit too much, if I'm honest, considering the path we've gone down. But imagine the reaction when they go, guess what? Heroes are not in the Battle Pass. That's if they do that. Like I said, they might not. But imagine if they did do that. Massive win. That is anybody who is a consultant that is advising you on your community, right? Or even your community manager, whatever. That is a win. That is a massive win. There is no negative connotation to that at all, right? At all. Because it looks like you're giving money back to the community, right? You're giving balance back to the game in a lot of ways. Everyone can play the heroes, right? If you add premium currency into the Battle Pass, you increase the value of it. That's just a win. Questions have been asked repeatedly of this game. Why isn't there premium currency in the Battle Pass? There's no answer, because the answer is we all know. Because, well, that means we make less money. So you can see, I am in danger of getting very ranty with some of these responses. But let's just let him finish.
I would still go back and make the decision to be honest with our players. I want them to know what it is that we're making. And I think that's going to be, it's been our guiding light for the past year, and it's going to be our guiding light for the future of Overwatch.
Well, this has been IGN with Aaron Keller. Thank you.
Okay, right. Okay, so I'm going to say this straight away. That is the first interview or piece of media I've watched with Aaron Keller where I feel like Aaron Keller is the boss man. Or Aaron Keller is, not maybe not the boss man, but he's telling us what he thinks. There's none of this shit PR crap, right? I'll tell you guys this, and I'm going to end the video, right? Way back before the game launched, well, no, it might have been just as the game launched or just after the game launched. I think it was just after the game launched. It was last year anyway. Blizzard said to me, would you like to interview Aaron? And I was like, okay. And also, John Spector, I want to say at the time, I can't remember, but it was some other like executive. And I was like, sure. Then they said to me, you can't do it on your own no more. You need to do it with another content creator. And I was like, okay. So another content creator comes on board. I'm not going to name them or anything. So we were then told, right, you need to give us your questions in advance. So I sent my questions over. I got a list of them back that we couldn't ask. And I was like, okay, this isn't great. I would prefer to ask all these questions. But if this is what we need to go for, at least it's something. Let's go for it. So it was penciled in. A date was put forward. Then this was literally the night before, right? And so when you consider time zone, okay, so let me just try and clarify this. When you look at the time zones, right, it was literally, they sent me a message at what would equate to like 3 or 4 a.m. UK time saying, these are the questions you can ask. They totally changed the questions that I had put forward, like totally changed them. And they were expecting me to just go ahead with that because of the short time frame. You know, like the next day begins. This was set to be recorded, I think, at about 7 p.m. UK time, which is normally about 10 a.m. In California. And I was so livid. I was like, I am not doing this. You have changed my questions. no, I'm not doing it. And I just went, I'm pulling out of this altogether. If the other content creator wants to go ahead and ask the questions, they can. That's the end of it, right? I think that was the beginning of the end of any sort of relationship that I had with Blizzard, because I was not going to be their, like, you know, mouthpiece in a way. That's a bit extreme, but I was not going to do what I was told by PR, essentially, because that doesn't reflect the questions that the community needed to ask. And that was, I don't think those times are ever going to come back, because I think, and I hope, that was an Activision Blizzard thing, right? And I think at that point, Blizzard basically said to me, that enough of this guy, you know, behind the scenes. We're not dealing with this guy because he could ask questions we don't want to deal with. I mean, you guys know this. There's been literally no content with me at Blizzard events. They have asked me to go to some of these events. You know, it's not like they've totally shut down communication with me. I do get the odd message which will say, would you like to come to a content creator event? And there's been times where maybe I would have gone, but I've had issues with healthcare. I mean, I'm not going to blab on about this because woe is me and whatever, but some of my medication got changed over. So I've got ulcerative colitis and a little bit of Crohn's, but I had to go into hospital for IV drips, and one of these events clashed with that, so I couldn't go on that, obviously, because I'm going to prioritize my health. And then I went through a phase of changing my medication over to a self-injectable type. Now, this again is going off on a bit of a tangent, but I basically were inject every 2 weeks the medication now, so it's much more easy and manageable. I don't need to go to hospital, and obviously it's working because I'm in the best condition I've been for a long time. But these things were all conflicting, right? Blizzard would ask me to go to an event with extremely short notice, and I'm like, well, that's too short notice, you know, a lot of other issues. Anyway, long story short, I do think that there was a lot of damage control going on. I think there was a lot of, we are rinsing our player base. We know we are, not the developers. I've got to say this, not like Aaron Keller or insert any other developer here. Not that, those are not the people rinsing the player base. They love the game. They're the biggest fans of the game. If you ever meet a developer of Overwatch, they love the game, right? They want to deliver a great game, but they're under the pressure of all the other issues with the game that I hope were being forced on them by Activision Blizzard King. Now, we're going to find out if this is the case, because if things start radically changing, if we start seeing a 180, as Aaron kept saying, we're going to see 180s in that interview, then this could be the start of getting back to what we used to have. A game development team, a company that really does feel connected with its player base and has won back the trust of its player base. Yeah, I've laughed before and said in the past, it's like Stockholm Syndrome with Overwatch. We can't stop playing the game. It's like, I hate Overwatch, but I'm playing Overwatch. It's the meme. It's like, I hate this game, but let's go and play it for 5 hours. It's because we do like the game, and you cannot get anything like this game. It is extremely unique for what it offers. It is one of the best FPS games. If you play Overwatch and then you go back and you try and play any other FPS game, some of them can feel sluggish. They just don't feel as smooth. They don't feel as great. It's not the same world. We like this game, right? Obviously, I like this game, the amount of videos I make on the game. So we want to see the game succeed. But we've been through a very embattled launch since Overwatch 2. And the game was embattled leading up to the launch of Overwatch 2 as well. Okay, this has been quite a meaty video again. I've gone a bit ranty, but I hope you guys enjoy the video. And I'm really hoping this becomes a turning point for Overwatch, for Blizzard, and things change. And next year, that's going to be the Overwatch 2 launch, in a way. And we're going to get the game that we really should have got all those years ago, back in Overwatch 1, when they stopped updating the game to work on a bloody failed PvE load of shite. Okay, everybody, thank you for listening to the video. Like it if you do. And I'm off to go and calm down. I'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo!